Possessing a grateful presence. So today's our last day this month that we're going to be looking at the idea of minding our P's and Q's, and not in the scolding way that we may have been reminded of that as we were told as children, mind your P's and Q's, right? But in a way that lifts us to a greater life experience. Specifically, we are being mindful to practice prayer. That was our first week. Pursue play. That was our second week. To quicken our pure potential and power up our positive thinking. That was last week. And finally, to be mindful to possess a grateful presence, which is this week. Pretty apropos, I think, for Thanksgiving week. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, a line from a song kept running through my head, and that was, I have so much more to be grateful than to be sorry for. I have so much more to be grateful than to be sorry for. Wow. That's really a powerful statement. And I really felt it very deeply as Rod was singing this morning. So true. And if you've been here already this month, you may remember that we always start, or this month at least, we're starting each talk with a mindful practice as we come together. And so today we're going to do a last one for this month anyway. And as you may expect, it's going to center around that line. So close your eyes, please. And breathe deeply. And repeat silently. I have so much more to be grateful than to be sorry for. Repeat that line several times and then begin listing in your mind all of the things you have to be grateful for. Now, as you're listing them, begin whispering them out loud. Everybody together, just whisper them out loud. My husband, my home, my church, my spiritual family. Okay, and as you're saying them, say them louder. Say them louder. I want to hear you. Just say them all at once. No one's going to be listening because they're going to be saying their own. My health. Chocolate. All right, louder and louder and louder. Okay. Then bring them back to a whisper again. Just get lower and lower. And finally say, I now see I have so much more to be grateful than to be sorry for. I now see I have so much more to be grateful for than to be sorry for. And rejoin me, please, when you're ready. Okay, how'd that feel? It's kind of fun, huh? Good energy. So today we're going to reflect on gratitude. And I want to begin by that reflection by reading to you a letter that Rich and I received from friends that had invited us to their home for Thanksgiving. We're not going to go, but this was the letter they sent to us because we're hosting Thanksgiving at our home this year. But they sent this letter, and it says, Dear Rich and Chris, I want to let you know that Martha Stewart will not be dining with us this Thanksgiving. Since she won't be with us, we've made a few small changes to our original Thanksgiving plans. I'm telling you in advance, so you won't be surprised. The first change you will notice is that the entry hall is not decorated with swags of Indian corn and fall foliage that I usually make. Instead, I've gotten the kids involved in the decorating and having them track in colorful leaves from outdoors. And they're also bringing in an extra touch of mud, which is their idea. The dining table will not be covered with expensive linens, fancy china, or crystal goblets. If possible, we will use dishes that match, and everyone will get a fork. Since this is Thanksgiving, we will refrain from using the plastic Peter Rabbit plate or Santa napkins left over from last year. In good Martha Stewart style, however, we will be dining fashionably late. The children will entertain you while you wait. I'm sure they will be happy to share every choice comment I made regarding Thanksgiving. Please remember that most of these comments were made at 5 a.m., just after I discovered that the turkey was still hard enough to cut diamonds. As an accompaniment to the children's recital, I will play a recording of tribal drumming. If the children should mention that I don't own a recording of tribal drumming, or that the tribal drumming sounds suspiciously like a frozen turkey in the clothes dryer, ignore them. They are lying. your eyes got somewhere. Now I know you've seen pictures of a person carving a turkey in front of a crowd of appreciative onlookers. This will not be happening at our dinner this year. For safety reasons, the turkey will be carved in a private ceremony. I stress private, meaning do not under any circumstances enter the kitchen to laugh at me. Do not send small unsuspecting children to check on my progress. I have an electric knife. The turkey is unarmed. It stands to reason that I will eventually win. When I do, we will eat. I have to say, Rich did not win one year. And we did end up in the emergency room, but that's another story. All right, one last thing. Instead of offering a choice of 12 different scrumptious desserts, we will be serving the traditional pumpkin pie garnished with whipped cream and small fingerprints. You will still have a choice, however, take it or leave it. No, Martha Stewart will not be dining with us this Thanksgiving. She probably won't come next year either. And for that, I am truly, truly thankful. So, every Thanksgiving, I like to read a passage from The Science of Mind. And this is in the textbook on page 497. And Ernest Holmes tells us, "In everything give thanks. An attitude of gratitude is most salutary and bespeaks the realization that we are now in heaven." So, being a person who loves words, okay, what does salutary mean? We don't use that really all that much, do we? Well, I looked it up because I love words. Healthy, invigorating, good, helpful, advantageous. And then let's talk about that word bespeak, right? How would we use that in language of today? Testify, verify, affirm, announce, indicate. So let's try that quote again. "In everything give thanks. An attitude of gratitude is most advantageous and announces the realization that we are now in heaven." Or, "In everything give thanks. An attitude of gratitude is most invigorating and affirms the realization that we are now in heaven." Or how about this one? "In everything gives thanks. An attitude of gratitude is most healthy and verifies that we are now in heaven." Okay, I kind of like the variations of all of those. And I think words have power. And so finding the words that resonate with you is what's going to give you that sense, that resonance feeling that will then power your words into manifestation. So we've all read or heard that science has now proven that an attitude of gratitude, and we talked about this on Friday night, is indeed a healthy attitude. In fact, it has a most salutary effect on the body. In 1993, a research team led by Glenn Ryan and Roland McCready measured the effect of certain emotions on human DNA. They used research subjects who were trained to manage their feelings. The researchers took DNA samples of the subjects when they were feeling gratitude, love, and appreciation, as well as when they were feeling anger, fear, frustration, or stress. When the subjects felt anger, fear, frustration, or stress, their DNA responded by tightening up. It actually became shorter and switched off many of the DNA codes. But when the subjects felt love and joy and gratitude and appreciation, the shutdown of the DNA codes was reversed. The DNA strands relaxed, unwound. In fact, they lengthened. This experiment was later followed by testing HIV patients, the ones that were positive with HIV. They discovered that feelings of love, gratitude, and appreciation increased their body's resistance to the virus up to 300,000 times. 300,000 times. That's a lot. That's pretty impressive evidence that walking in gratitude is what I would say a good idea. For what shall we be grateful? Well, Ernest Holmes says, "In everything give thanks," and I agree with that. But typically, we give thanks for things that we have, right? We look around and we're thinking about what we are grateful, what we have, for our relationships, for our health, for our spiritual community, for our jobs, for our stuff, and of course, all of that is really wonderful. And in the past, I've done talks where we've been grateful in advance, right? For the relationships, health, jobs, stuff that we're looking to experience in our lives. And that too is wonderful. And also in the years past, we've looked at being grateful for the wonderful God qualities, the spiritual gifts that we each possess. And that was wonderful. And we looked at things about ourselves that we like to hide, like the shadow side, Debbie Ford's in her book, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, and found things to be grateful for in them. And that too was terrific, wasn't it? And we've even looked at stuff in our lives that we might label yucky. And we've said we want to be grateful for that as well, to call forth a blessing in it. Look for the good, right? You remember, of course, Emma Curtis Hopkins' affirmation for any challenge? This too is good. This too is God. This too is for me, and I demand to see the blessing in it. I just love that. And when you're in a situation where things just look like you can't see past it, what a wonderful, wonderful affirmation. But that's not what we're going to focus on today, even though it's all very good. And you might say, well, if I'm not going to be grateful for the things in my life, if I'm not going to be grateful for the future things in my life, if I'm not going to be grateful for my shadow, if I'm not going to be grateful for the challenges and the learning opportunities in my life, well, then there's nothing left, right? But what about this? Let's talk about oneness. I'm grateful that there's a singular presence in this universe that runs in, through, and as all things. I'm grateful that this singular presence, this presence called God, mind, Holy Spirit, intelligence, Allah, love, Yahweh, energy, whatever you want to call it, is the very essence of who I am. And it is the very essence of who you are. It is as near as our breath and as close as our hands and our feet. And this presence is good. It is only good all of the time. Reverend Sandy used to say that. It was a call and response. She says, God is so good. And the congregation would say, all of the time. And it was beautiful. All of the time. It knows only life-affirming creativity. It knows only to further the expression of beauty and joy and peace and harmony and love and abundance, because that is its very nature. And that too is my very nature. And it is your very nature as well. So next we look at the Trinity of Being and the divine creative process. I am grateful that this one singular presence operates infallibly through a process called the law, capital L, to create form. God thinks and God's thoughts are operated on by the law to manifest form. God said, let there be light, and there was light. And this process operates infallibly in me as well. I think, I feel, I believe, and that which I think, feel, and believe is operated upon by this infallible law to bring experiences into my life. And that which you think and feel and believe is also operated upon by this infallible law to bring experiences in your life. Next is affirmative prayer. I am grateful that I can align myself with the beauty, peace, harmony, joy, plenty of the universe, and have this infallible law work to create those experiences in my life through prayer. And so can you. How about free will and choice? I'm grateful that we always have a choice. That we were made in the image and likeness of the divine and imbued with all of the qualities of the divine, including the ability to choose. At any moment, we can choose to experience freedom or bondage, love or hate. And if we don't like the results of a choice we made, we can change it and change our experience. Reciprocity. I am grateful that the universe does respond to us according to what we think, feel, and believe. That what we are to the world is to us. And again, if we don't like what the world is to us, we have the power within ourselves, the God-given, God-ordained power to change it. Then I want to look at abundance. I am grateful, eternally grateful that I live in a world of infinite abundance. And all I have to do is look to see all that is around me. The leaves on the trees are on the ground, where they mostly are right now, or the stars in the sky, the grains of sand on the beach, the vastness of the ocean, and that this abundance is my divine inheritance simply because of who I am. I don't have to do anything. It's already given. It's a perfect time. I love it. Hakuna Matata. Forgiveness. I am thankful for the incredible tool of aligning myself with the flow of life that I can use at any moment of any day. The tool of forgiveness. It's a powerful tool. Number 9, immortality. I'm thankful that my essence, the truth of who I am, did not start with this body. It didn't start when I was born on this plane. And it does not end with this body. The essence of who I am is on an eternal journey. The Christ consciousness, number 10. And finally this morning, I am so grateful for the Jewish mystic who walked this earth over 2,000 years ago to show us the way. Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus the Christ, Jesus the Anointed One. The man who did not know where he started and God stopped, or where God started and he stopped. The man who said, "This and more you can do." Wow. How come we don't hear that? How come we don't hear that? I'm here to tell you that. This too you can do and more. We're being charged with doing much more than was done then or has been done. And as soon as I recognize this truth about me, I too become the Christ. And so do you. Who knows what I just described? The 10. What were they? Does anyone know what those were? Those are the 10 core concepts of foundational beliefs in religious science. That's what is actually taught, these 10 concepts in the foundations class, which I'm tempted to teach soon. Yes. January. Sounds like a good time to start off with those 10 core concepts. Today, I am eternally grateful for these beliefs and for a man named Ernest Holmes, who studied many different religions and took what he thought was the most powerful from each one and created the science of mind. I'm thankful that he existed and that he was such a prolific writer, because I am still reading. And there's much more to be read. And go back and reread, because every time I reread something, I was told by a minister one time that every time she teaches a Science of Mind class, she gets a new book, a new Science of Mind textbook, because it's different. She's different. The book hasn't changed. The words are there, but she's not the same person who taught it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years. She's different. So she approaches it, and it's a whole new class.
Well, you just want to re-highlight everything.
Well, in the essence of Patricia, yeah, we're running out of colors. So, but that's true. I stopped highlighting and I started underlining with pencil. And then, it's pretty soon you're underlining the whole book, and yeah, it's an amazing experience. I'm grateful that I'm part of a teaching that advances the knowledge of the spiritual system in which we are living, and that we are bold enough to bring the traditional ancient values of spirituality into today. Jesus knew exactly what he taught. I am grateful that I live in a spiritual system that enabled me to develop the consciousness that attracted all of you. Because together, we shall bless the world by not only thinking and talking about what is important in a universal way, but by having the courage to live with that kind of integrity and to know that every person represents God, to be able to see the face of God in every person. So remember, we really do truly have so much more to be grateful than to be sorry for. Yes, we can be grateful for the things in our lives, the future things in our lives, our spiritual gifts, our shadows, even the challenges and learning opportunities in our lives. And today, let us possess a grateful presence for the spiritual system in which we live and how it operates in and through our lives. Let us be grateful for the evolution of humankind and for our own personal evolution. Where were you a year ago in consciousness? Have you expanded your awareness of who you are and of life itself? Of course you have. You're not the same person who was here a year ago. You're an evolving human being, spiritually evolving human being. It's time for us to be overwhelmingly grateful for this. What a journey. When we learn to celebrate our own nature, we celebrate the nature of God, because that is how God expresses on this plane. That is how God sees and thinks and feels and touches and does all of the wonderful things through us. We are the hands. We are the heart. We are the voice of Spirit. And that is possessing a grateful presence. And so it is.
Very good.